All right, what is going on, everyone? Casey Adams here. I am here with the one and only CEO of Nikola, Trevor Milton. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Right on, guys. Happy to be here.
So first off, I want to say thank you to my co-host Kieran for coming on today as well. And Trevor, I want to ask you, what got you into Nikola and hydrogen cells regarding automobiles?
I kind of like to, this is my 5th company, so I have a lot of history in starting companies. I've had, 2 failures in my past, and 3 of them have been successes. And as an entrepreneur, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a really good batting average for an entrepreneur. My entire life, I've just loved to create things. And I always see things, I always tell people, look, if you really want to make a lot of money, it's going to take you 10 years to do it. But you have to take an industry that's not very attractive and you have to turn it to be something very attractive.
Yep.
Trucking at the time was something that was very outdated, very unattractive. And I knew that if I could vertically integrate the entire ecosystem, including fuel, we would have a home run solution that no one else had.
Love that. So talk to me a little bit about your early phases. I'd love to hear about those 2 failures and 2 successes before Nikola.
Yeah, I mean, so this is my 5th company. I'll start out. The very first was an alarm company, and we did a lot of video surveillance and alarms. And this is back when knocking on doors was just beginning, the whole door-to-door thing back in the early 2000s. And I built that company up, and within about a year or 2, I had sold it for almost $2 million, and I thought I was like on top of the world. I was like, oh, I'm like expert at this thing. So. Yeah. I took that money and reinvested it into a company called upillar.com that was way ahead of its time, actually. If I was not in Utah and if I would have been in Silicon Valley, we probably would have been what Amazon is today, because we were beating Amazon at what they were doing. We had the first ever shopping cart in the history. No one else had ever developed a shopping cart to buy 50 items from 50 different sellers, check out one time. We developed that whole entire solution, the first group in the world to really do that. We beat Amazon, we beat eBay. We were growing. We had 80 million people on our site. And ultimately, we would have ended up being Amazon, but we were in Utah. And at the time, Utah had no clue what investment was around the internet. So we just grew too fast. And that was a lesson for me at that time, was not to grow too fast. And it really kicked our butt. And we shut down the company. Lost everything. It was a really, really difficult thing to shut a company down that's growing. That's like one of the most difficult things to ever do. So that was, although I consider it a failure, it was, it's not, but it was a financial failure in my past. So from there, we moved into a company that took diesel engines, and this is where I got into trying to really clean up the environment. We took diesel engines and we recalibrated them to turn them into a cleaner engine. We'd recalibrate them to run on diesel and natural gas simultaneously. And we were really the leaders in this. And this is where my relationship with Robert Bosch began, because I needed their injectors. And so we ended up building that relationship with Robert Bosch to have high pressure injectors to inject into the manifold system of a diesel engine. So that's where that company started, and it did okay. We did really well, but we ended up with some intellectual property lawsuits where we were, it was just a really tough time in my life where we ended up having to close that company down, not because of our fault, but primarily because people wanted our IP and they came after us and sued us for it. And I didn't have the resources or the people to defend me at the time. So that was another one. I mean, to have back-to-back failures, it was like, man, it's almost like a 1-2 knockout punch, And then from there, I moved into a company called D-Hybrid Systems that built high pressure natural gas and hydrogen storage. So this is all leading into the company I have today. Went from knowledge of hardware to software to engines to high pressure natural gas and hydrogen. You can see the lead up right to Nikola.
Yep.
And that company I built did real well with it, and we ended up selling it to a company called Worthington Industries. And I took that money and I reinvested it into Nikola and built out Nikola. So my past has been, I've been real lucky to have 3 successes.
Very cool.
Two failures, but they weren't really failures. They're just learning experiences. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, no, very cool. I wanted to bring up as well because I know you started Nikola 2015, and we saw the video you guys giving a tour of the headquarters here in Scottsdale. But I saw that you guys just raised $250 million on a Series D round. I'd love for you to give us some insight on where Nikola is today, and how are you guys moving into 2020? Because you guys are not only crushing it, but you're paving the way for a completely new industry.
Yeah, I mean, we've been real lucky to have some of the best partners in the world. Going into this, I knew that I would never raise money if I didn't build strategic relationships. I didn't have access to capital like other people when I first started. I mean, I did really well, but I wasn't I wasn't like a billionaire worldwide that could just call people and get money. It was I had to bootstrap this shit. Like I had to sell my home. I had to leverage my home. My dad leveraged his house. Like People don't realize when they're like, oh man, Trevor just, he's got all this money. It's like, no, you don't understand what it took to get here. We had to give up everything, including our homes and our credit and everything to get here.
Yep.
We raised, total, I don't even know. It's got to be over five or 600 million up to this point. Could be even more than that. I have to go look, but we raised $250 million from Case New Holland Iveco, 130 million-ish from Robert Bosch, 100+ million from Hanwha. And in this, and right now we're getting ready to reverse merge right now with a company called VectorIQ. That's a holding company only. It's only used to get you public quickly. So it does not have any operational history. It's just a holding company to go public. They've got 235 million, and the so many people wanted to invest in Nikola when we announced we were going to merge.
Yep.
That we raised an additional almost $600 million on top of that. So we have almost $700 to $800 million waiting as soon as we merge. That comes into our account, and that's awesome because that means it'll put us almost $1 billion, essentially liquid cash for us to be able to be successful.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I definitely want to hear a little bit more about how that whole process works because, Casey's podcast is for, younger entrepreneurs in their teens and maybe early 20s. And a lot of them aspire to potentially have a successful exit one day or potentially take a company public one day. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how that whole process works.
There's 2 articles that I've written. They're very short. They're like 3-minute reads, but they're on my LinkedIn, and they're probably the most powerful articles you'll ever read. In my opinion, I literally put down my true feelings, emotion, mentality, everything about starting companies, what it means, what it takes, what you're going to lose, what you're going to give up, how you can be successful, what not to do, what to do. And it's just bullet point after bullet point of very, very blunt, very good knowledge. And if you read those, it's almost hard to read a little bit because you'll read it and you'll be like, you can hear the pain in my voice, in my letters, because I'm writing from my heart how painful it's been to get here. People don't realize the odds are against you, absolutely, completely stacked against you to succeed. And I don't ever want to discourage anyone from being successful. I'm a big believer that if you educate people going in to start a company, they have a lot higher success rate than you do if you just go in it blind. Yep. And so I try to educate people. There's 2 articles. One's called like a random airport encounter, and that's on my LinkedIn. And the next one is it's how to get back up after you've gotten knocked down and lost everything. Because I've been in both situations. There was an entrepreneur that stopped me in the airport in Detroit, and he asked me he didn't know who I was. He was I just kind of said hi to him, and he started telling me how he wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I documented this whole conversation. And he later reached out to me, and I gave him a ton of advice. And it's a fascinating story. So if you guys really want to know, that's like an hour-long discussion. It's amazing. But go to my LinkedIn and read those, and it'll give you more advice than I could ever give you, on video.
Totally. No, absolutely. I'll make sure to check those out. I want to ask you, what does your day-to-day look like when you're at the headquarters being CEO? Where do you spend your time and where do you focus?
So I'll answer that, but I want to give you 30 seconds of what the previous question was, at least a little bit of an answer for your audience. what entrepreneurs don't know is that going into something, because starting your own company, you're most likely going to fail. So if you know that going into it, it's going to take a lot of the pain out of it, because you won't hate yourself for the bad decisions you make or the things you do wrong. Like, I see a lot of entrepreneurs literally just lose all confidence. And I talk about this, how I lost my confidence twice in my life. And to get there, I had to build it back up. And how did I do it? I did it really slowly. It does not come fast. You've got to build it slowly. You can't build that confidence just by business. You have to build it socially too, which means you have to go out and serve other people. And if you're serving other people, you can learn to love yourself. And by learning to love yourself again, you can learn to love the process of going into business. So there's a lot of really good advice I give you in those articles. But I think that if you know, I try to tell people, do something that you really, really are naturally gifted at. This is the one bit of advice I'll give you on video. Whatever you're good at and you naturally are just better than, if you put everyone in a room, 50 people in a room, if you're better than all 50 people at something, go do that. Because naturally you're going to be better than them without even trying. And so if you do try, you're going to kick everyone's ass. Like, become LeBron James, literally go there and work your ass off until your body falls apart. And if you're already better than everyone when you start, you're going to become an absolute superstar when you end. And that's what I tell people. Look, there's no one better than me that I've ever found that can see more equations and more solutions, more problems, and I can dissect those things within seconds. I can work on, I instantly read people's personalities, and I know exactly who they are within 30 seconds of talking to them. I know almost everything about their entire life. And this is that's my gift. That is my gift, is to dissect situations faster than anyone I've ever encountered in my life. By doing that, I learned that I needed to surround myself with people that were better than me at everything I sucked at. And so that's the key, is learn everything you're not good at, hire the people that are better than you, and do something you love, and you will have a 50-50 chance. And that's the best damn odds you'll ever get in entrepreneurship that you could ever dream of.
Yep.
So I hope that answers that last question. What was the question you just asked me again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just when it comes to your day-to-day operations, where do you spend most of your time, and how do you, keep yourself accountable and the team accountable?
So that kind of leads from the previous question. So hiring the best team in the world is incredible. You will learn that hiring the people around you that are good at everything you suck at is the key to being successful. And I'm not kidding. When I first started being an entrepreneur, I thought I had to be good at everything. I was like, oh, I have to. This is an investor won't invest in me unless I know all this. That's bullshit. Listen, an investor won't invest in you if you act like you know what you're doing. So, if you want to get investor money and capital, be very upfront about what you're really good at, what you're not good at, who you're hiring to fulfill those spots, and they will come running to you, because they're so tired of entrepreneurs bullshitting them, telling them how good they are. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. Listen, no, just tell them one good thing you're good at, and then tell them all the people you've hired for what you're not good at. They will have tremendous respect for you. So my day, because I've hired so many really good people, I have world-class, I'm talking Michael Jordan level guys around me that are in every category, whether it's finance or whether it's construction, whether it's engineering, whether it's controls, logic, vehicle, whatever it is. There's 100 people around me that are experts. And so my day really comes to this is where it gets fun. I show up to work. I immediately go into my email. I want to clear all my email out. And one bit of advice I'll give entrepreneurs is your email box should be the cleanest thing you ever have in your life. If you have more than, I always tell people, if you have more than 100 emails, you have a problem, because you should archive and categorize everything that's already done. So whenever you get done with an email, archive, categorize it, or delete it if it's not important, but archive and categorize it. And then the ones in your inbox are to-do lists. Those are things that are not yet done. Forget all these other to-do programs. It's all bullcrap. Use your email. It's the most efficient thing you can ever do in your life. So I use Gmail, and everything in my inbox. And right now I'll tell you right now, I'll pull it up. Let me look at it. My corporate email, I have a total of, I have 18 emails in my inbox with 2 unreads right now.
Okay.
That's how active I am on my email.
Wow.
Those 18 things are things that have to be addressed and done, and that are not done yet. So most of the time, they're things I can't do because I'm waiting on someone else. So they're things that are in front of my face every single day, And that way I never miss anything. I get comments all the time from employees and other people. They're like, I've never seen an email go to you that has not been responded to. Mm-hmm. And I teach this inside Nikola, that your inbox ought to be your inbox should be your to-do list. So I'm very active. So I come in, I knock all that out as fast as I can. I have a personal and a company email. I go through, and my personal is usually 2 or 3 times longer than my business because I put priority on my business over my personal. Yep. So my personal is usually about 30 to 40 emails, and my business is, I try to keep it under 10. And that allows me to make sure that no one inside the business is waiting on an answer for me, so that when I go walk the floor and I go talk to everyone inside of every division, they're not like, hey, I'm still waiting on that email from you. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, what do you think about this? Like, no, I've already answered their questions before I get there.
Yep.
The amount of respect that they have for you is tremendous if you're not holding your team up. So learn to be a real leader, get your shit done, work hard, and then go I walk the floor, I go see my team, and then I get to learn from them.
Love that.
They're not waiting on me. I get to go ask them questions. I get to learn from them.
Yep.
Awesome. I want to talk EV. It's one of the most interesting, innovative, and future-focused industries in the world. And I just want to get kind of your 10,000-foot view on where the future is headed. A 5-10 year look at where this industry is going.
Well, I'm not trying to ever be too confident or brag about things, but this is important to help you understand that answer. There's 2 people in this world that know EVs better than anyone, and that's Elon and myself. There's no one in this world that I can go into any meeting with Volkswagen, Daimler, Volvo. You could put 30 PhDs in that room, and I would run circles around every one of them, because they only know one thing. That's all they know. Each person only knows one thing. They have no idea how it all connects together, and their vehicles are total disasters. If you buy a brand new Mercedes-Benz, it's got like 15 to 20 different controllers on it. None of them built by the same supplier. A total mess. They don't even communicate to each other correctly. It's just a total nightmare. So there's very few people that know the EV industry or the whole entire vehicle like I do or like Elon does. Like, we're probably the top 2 guys in the world that know this shit, and we know it better than anybody. So where's this whole thing going? I mean, this is fascinating. I mean, look, I think in the next 10 years, there's going to be what I call like not collector cars, but like exciting cars that are gas powered that people love. They're going to buy. It's going to be a muscle car. It's going to be something really cool. It's really fun. It explains your DNA, explains yourself. It's like it could be a Ferrari, it could be a Mustang, it could be a Corvette, but it's something unique. Everything else is going to be electric. It's going to be electric. There's nothing out there better than electric or hydrogen. Now I'm going to explain to you guys. So Nikola is the leader in both electric and hydrogen, but different than Tesla, because what we do is we build big heavy duty vehicles.
Yep.
Electric vehicles do really well up to about 200 to 300 miles. Over that, they're a total disaster because of the weight. In the heavy duty world, every pound is worth 50 cents on every load. So What that means is if your vehicle weighs 5,000 pounds more, then you're losing $2,500 on every load you do. It doesn't matter if you get energy for free, you're still going bankrupt. So this is the key this is why, there's both hydrogen and electric will always survive, is because hydrogen weighs 5,000 pounds less on a semi truck than electric does. But electric vehicles are awesome for everything when you talk about low range, like cars and light duty vehicles and delivery vans. Electric's the way to go. Yep. When you talk about heavy duty big stuff, trains, trucks, marine, hydrogen's the only way to go. And so that's going to be the fascinating part of the world, is you're going to see almost everything non-existent anymore, except for the specialty vehicles that call out your DNA. The rest are going electric.
Love that. I want to ask you, I'm a huge believer in just relationships. And I know that you're talking a lot about, your relationships with Elon or different manufacturers. Because I think this is a very unique point for a lot of young entrepreneurs, being the best in the game at what you do alongside Elon. Like, what are the conversations that happen at that high level? You guys are moving in a way that no one else is moving. So what are those conversations with you or Elon, or just the trajectory of the companies? Because you guys, like you just said, Nikola, Tesla, they're aligned but different in so many ways, and I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, one bit of advice I'll tell entrepreneurs is don't ever be afraid to be disliked. Don't be afraid. This world is so like, everyone's so sensitive nowadays. Like, oh, I can't have anyone not like me. Like that's utter, you will fail. You'll get your ass kicked. Here's the thing. I'm very public about this. Elon hates me. Like we don't get along. Like it's okay. Like I have nothing against the guy. He hates me though. He literally despises me. And that's okay. Like for him, he looks at me like he has a very hard time not being in the spotlight. It has to be him or there's nothing. And he's very angry at me, the fact that our company's named after the same inventor. So for him, that was an insult on him, but it's not. It was a paying homage to the greatest inventor in the world. It had nothing to do with Elon. And this is the problem. He always thought that this was an attack on him. It had nothing to do with him. He doesn't really think that things can happen that aren't around him. So it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with Nikola Tesla, the greatest inventor in the world. Yep. And so that was why we own the trademarks Nikola and all the patents. He owns the trademark Tesla and all the patents, the trademarks around that. Yep. So we're two totally different companies, although we're very aligned in thinking and philosophy around some things. Don't be afraid to be disliked. I don't give a crap if Elon doesn't like me. I could give a rat's ass. Like I'm kicking his ass in trucking, and you got to be willing to go up against the people that you originally, when Elon started, I thought I was like, dude, the guy's really cool. Like I one day we'll have like similarities, whatever, we'll talk, whatever. But I quickly found that was never going to be the case. And that was okay for me. So it's, there's a lot of basketball stars that have talked about this as well, where when they started playing basketball there, the people that they looked up to the most when they first started became their biggest rivalries and the people that they clashed with the most.
Yep.
That means that you're going after the right market. That means you've got someone's jugular right in vision, and you've got a market that you're willing to build value for your shareholders. So don't ever be afraid of being disliked. Look, I'm liked by millions of people all over the world. I don't give a shit what someone at another company thinks of me. Yep. So who cares if they come after you? Who cares if they harass you? If you're confident in yourself, go out there and go out there and do what you do. Now you ask the high level questions like what goes on. So in my phone, there's probably 20 or 30 billionaires in my phone, and they're all really incredible people that I have good relationships with. The conversations I have with them are incredibly short and fast. You'll learn this with when you get up to the higher levels of people, your conversations are incredibly fast. And it's funny how like I offend my employees all the time because they're like, well, you only sent me back 3 words. You must not want to talk to me. And I'm like, look,
wow.
The fact I gave you 3 words shows you that I do want to talk to you. If I didn't want to talk to you, I would give you 0, because your time becomes so valuable, and you're dealing with, on an average day, I'll make 500 to 1,000 decisions.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like, and people don't realize that. Like, and you don't have time to talk to people about all 500 to 1,000 decisions. You make them on the fly, and 95% of them you're going to get right. Because one of the things I talk about in the article is when you learn how to make small decisions and you fail on small levels, you're much more equipped to deal with big levels and big decisions. So when you get up to this level, you start to make these decisions, and they're huge. Like on an average day, I'll make, anywhere from, some days it's over $100 million worth of decisions. Some days it's, a few $100,000.
Yep.
But you can't have any emotion towards those decisions. You got to make decisions that you believe in the most, make them fast. I always tell people, if you're going to fail fast, fail elegantly, get back up and fix it. So that way you don't have long-term effects. And so the conversations are fast, man. Like I'll text my friends and the responses are like 4 or 5 words long.
Very cool. That's some great insight. 2 more quick questions before we wrap up. I want to be respectful of time.
Well, I want to talk quickly about the power sports. I think that, obviously, I think anybody, if they just go to the Nikola website, they can very clearly see your trajectory for, taking over the trucking industry and revolutionizing that. But what really shocked me when I looked on this was, the jet skis and the different power sports vehicles. I'm super interested in that.
Well, I'm a big believer in doing something. You have to do stuff you absolutely love to be successful. And the power sports industry to me is something that is just true to my heart.
Yep.
So it's a reflection of Trevor. I mean, I love the off-road industry. I love going camping. I love going to the lake. I love spending time with family members at the lake. I love to go to the sand dunes. I love to go, ride up into the mountains and go look at deer and elk or whatever, just go up in the mountains. So it's a direct reflection of my personality. And I would suggest that all entrepreneurs, whenever you do something, do a little bit of something you love. You got to love the whole thing, but do something that reflects you. And that's what the power sports are. I mean, we didn't expect this industry to take off like it did.
Yeah.
we were the first ones doing electric power sports in the whole industry. And we have the most advanced off-road vehicle you've ever seen in your life. It comes in full production next year. It's 600 horsepower.
Okay.
It's 700 foot-pounds of torque before reduction, 7,000 foot-pounds of torque after. You can go up a 30 or 40% incline without any reduction of torque to the point where you're almost tipping over backwards. It can out-tow a Ford F-150. And it's all made for the off-road to go jump 60 feet on a sand dune and land on the downhill. So it's like,
wow.
And then you can pull your wave runner to the lake with it. You can go ride your wave runner for 3 hours, come back and charge it off of your UTV and go out again. So it's like a total ecosystem of awesome off-roadness.
I want to touch on just real quick regarding the wave runner, right? I go on the website last night. I reserved mine. If a consumer reserves their wave runner today, what is the expected rollout of receiving these vehicles?
I think that we'll start deliveries of those at the end of next year. So it's quick. It's within probably 12 to 16 months. We'll start deliveries. We already have units out being tested, and we're going to show off the final production unit here in about 6 or 7 months when we do the big Nikola World again. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So they're going to come down the line right after that.
Very cool. Well, Trevor, I just want to wrap this up, man. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. And last thing, just if you were to give one piece of advice, very short and simple, to an entrepreneur starting their first company today, or just starting a new company, what would that advice be and why?
Man, I would tell them that if the passion is everything, you got to feel like you're making a difference at something. Like you can't just go build something that's like going to make money. If you don't truly believe in what you're making, like inside and out, deep and through, my conviction around Nikola is so deep. It's everything around the cleaner air, the environmental, but also performance. Like I don't just believe in one thing. I don't just stick my head in the sand and say it's only environmental. It's not. It's everything. It's the jobs. It's the families that I'm helping. It's all the people we employ. It's the amazingness to be able to beat everyone in the industry that are these people have been around for 100 years and have got billions of dollars and 400,000 employees, and they mock you on stage, yet you go and you outperform them. And it's just the greatest feeling in life. So do something you love, man. Do something you absolutely love. Be convicted with it, and don't worry about failing. It's not that big of a deal. It's not there's no harm. There's no like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no like, it doesn't matter if you fail. People think failure is such a bad thing. Good hell, it's not. It's one of the greatest aspects you'll ever get in life because it teaches you how to survive. You got to fail to survive, man. So get your ass kicked a few times.
Love
and
that.
Then you'll start to be a real entrepreneur.
Love that. Where's the best place that people can go to stay up to date with yourself as well as Nikola moving forward?
They can follow me on Twitter at Nikola Trevor. They can follow me on Instagram at Lake Pal Trevor. That's where I love Lake Pal. And my LinkedIn, they can go find me Trevor Milton on LinkedIn, and they're all kind of different. My Twitter is around a lot around my business. My Instagram is very personal, one-on-one, where I do a lot of in-depth videos or things where you can around the business too, but personal, way more personal than Twitter. But Twitter's where you get like instant updates.
Yep.
And then my Instagram is really around teaching entrepreneurs and doing a lot of my philanthropy and things that I really do to try to help people.
Love that. Well, that being said, Trevor, I just want to say thank you again so much for coming on the show today.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Take care. Have fun.
Thanks.